The Cincinnati streetcar debate has gotten lots of attention, and there are few out there without an opinion. But what's your take on the Oasis rail line? The Business Courier front page centerpiece this week focuses on the next big rail fight. The Oasis line would span 17 miles between downtown and Milford. If completed, Oasis would be Cincinnati's first commuter train. The proposed diesel-powered commuter rail line would run along an existing publicly controlled rail corridor that snakes from downtown to Lunken Airport. Additional right-of-way is needed to pivot the line to Milford. Oasis is deep into the planning stages by the Ohio Department of Transportation and local governments, and it's supported by many, including the influential Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments, Hamilton County Commissioner Todd Portune, and elected officials in Claremont County. But opposition from traditional public transportation allies is just one obstacle for Oasis supporters. Other issues include the belief by pro-bicycle groups and Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley that Oasis should be a bike and walking trail. And SORTA, the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority, which owns partial rights to the railroad where Oasis would run, is officially neutral. Well, it all adds up to the next fight over local rail, one that could be as lengthy as the 5-year fight over Cincinnati streetcar. It could determine whether commuter rail lines even have a future here. Business Courier editor Rob Dahlmeyer joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio with more on the pros and cons outlined in this week's centerpiece story. Rob and Kelly.
Thanks, Peg. Rob, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
So a lot of the traditional supporters of public transportation, like John Schneider is quoted in Chris's story,
right,
are against this. Why?
Yeah, John Schneider was like the face of the streetcar for the last 10 years. Schneider and a lot of other people feel like the proposed commuter rail line, it would be Cincinnati's first, is just not going to hit enough population to be worth the trouble. It's, you know, essentially would snake, as Peg said, snake from downtown along the river, have to go over the Little Miami, through some areas that just flat out don't want it, and there's just not the population base you would get, let's say, if you ran this up 75 or 71, which is what a lot of people think. If we're going to get a commuter rail line, let's make it where all the people are.
Yeah. So why this area, and why is this so difficult?
It was the reason, because the ownership is there. In other words, the availability of this rail line is already in place.
Got it.
There have been a ton of studies. It's always been a pain to get from the east side of Cincinnati to downtown. Anybody who lives in Cincinnati already knows this. It's the worst. I mean, there's 18 different roads you have to go on. So it makes sense from that point of view. If you went anywhere else, you'd have to start from scratch. So they have all of these studies that they're well on their way to finishing. They have some problems. They have some hurdles. Marymount doesn't want it. But they are along the way to getting this done. That's why they picked this. They have the rail rights already.
And ultimately, something has to be done.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is, because the traffic, the population, I just said that the population doesn't warrant it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll also say this, that the population in Anderson Township and beyond continues to grow.
Yeah.
And even though that the areas along the way may not be giant population centers, downtown is, you know, obviously is where the jobs are, and the east side of Cincinnati is growing, and the streets can't handle it. I mean, if you've ever tried to get on Worcester Pike at any time during rush hour, you know that it's just, it doesn't work. So everybody knows something's got to give. It's just, there's so many hurdles and roadblocks on this one.
Great story by Chris Wetterick, and I'm sure you guys will continue to follow it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Peg, back to you.
All right, Kelly and Rob, thanks.